don't we start with who's to blame? And then that way I can go backwards into the rest of the story. Who's to blame, in my strong opinion, is the governor of Michigan. The governor of Michigan used this law that was called PA4 of 2011. There's a lot of information on that law, and also its sister law, which is PA436 of 2012, on our website at rojsnews.com. When the governor came into office, he was sworn in on January 1st, 2011. By March 3rd, 2011, and I remember that day in particularly, I'm sorry, March 4th, 2011. I remember that day particularly because it's the day after my birthday. The first law of the emergency manager, as I call it, dictatorship, was signed. That allowed the governor to put a card, if you want, into any area that he appointed, to manage the budgetary, operational, government, municipal powers of a city, county, township, village, also a school district. So pretty much anything in Michigan, because that covers all of them. And so with that, you know, when you're looking at the emergency managers, which are the second people that are responsible, they direct line of command goes directly to the governor. They decided to make decisions that people told them in these communities were not good. As I said, Eric Mays basically said, hey, I don't think it's a good idea that, you know, you switch off the Detroit water system 2 years early before the new pipeline was built. That's, you know, why don't we just kind of stay on there? A decision was made by the emergency managers. I just want to make sure I have them all, because we have Kuntz, we have basically Early, and we have Ambrose. So when we're looking at this decision, we also have to look at Kuntz, because he was the one that basically in April 2014 signed the paperwork in order to remove Flint off of the Detroit water system and onto the Flint River. The reason why, he said, because they had to do it. It was about saving money. But the story that doesn't get a lot of airplay and doesn't get a lot of national attention is that Detroit offered to extend the $10 million that Flint owed them for being on the system 10 years deep in the future. So in other words, basically giving them an extended loan, if you want to go there, in order to pay off what they knew that they owed to Detroit, just to make sure that, number one, Detroit didn't lose that resource. Detroit was actually going through, at that time, getting ready to go through a bankruptcy case. So you got to look at this as most financial experts, if you want to go there, would look at this. Why would you, right? If you're going through a bankruptcy case and you're trying to, you know, a possible bankruptcy case, and you're trying to keep as much revenue going into the system as possible, why would you want to have your second biggest revenue point as it comes to water, which happens to be Flint, and the resources that they were using out of Flint for the Detroit water system, go off the line and go off the system? That would be a little bit dumb. So Detroit decided they didn't really want them to go off the system. They wanted them to stay. They wanted to try and avoid bankruptcy court and putting the water system also into that bankruptcy proceeding. And unfortunately, Kurtz, they said, nah. Even though you will work with us, even though you basically said that we can take 10 years to pay you the 10 million, we're going to make the switch right now, because, you know, it's all about saving money. And so that was a very faithful and boneheaded, in my decision. Then you have to look after that, and you have to look, some people say, well, what about the other 7 people that voted to remove Flint off of the Detroit water system onto the Flint River? Were they to blame? In some cases, yes, because, you know, sometimes you have to vote your conscience, you know, and if something is wrong in your gut, you shouldn't just say yes because everyone else is saying yes. So when you ask me who is the blame, some of that blame does go towards those 7 council members and Mayor Walding, who basically said, yo, you know what, we may be wrong, but let's just do it anyway. No, that means maybe you shouldn't do it. And maybe you should kind of think about the long-term impacts of if you make a stupid decision, how that's going to affect the residents. At the very least, if you were going to do it, you should have insisted that they chemically treated the water before you went and gave it to residents, which what they did not do with the Flint River. The Flint Water Department didn't do it. In my opinion, the emergency manager didn't do oversight on it. The governor didn't step in and say, well, goodness gracious, you might want to chemically treat the water. The DEQ turned her back. The EPA got there late on the game. I mean, you could go on and on in regards to all of those individuals have some bit or more of responsibility in regards to why this crisis have went on and has got to the point that now not only are residents been poisoned, but residents may have been killed as a result of this Flint water crisis. I talked about Coots, I talked about Early, which that guy, oh my goodness, Ambrose, who basically, even though residents were coming to him at that point in time in early 2015, mid 2015, like, come on, dude, you mean to tell me you can't see that our water is brown in this bottle? That he basically turned a deaf ear. You know, I think I talked about the DEQ. We can talk about the Department of Health and Human Resources in the state, who also turned a blind eye and deaf ears to Flint residents. It was almost like a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil moment for departments that's supposed to care about the health and safety of all Michiganians. We can go to the Attorney General. Hello. Residents were complaining to Bill Schuette. Bill Schuette was not on duty, as he liked to say. He always says he's on duty. He wasn't on duty then. In fact, he rejected a complaint in order to investigate all the Flint residents' concerns about the Flint water crisis and the toxic water in just, what was that, September of 2015. Now he says that not only is he going to investigate it through a independent investigation, but he's going to use one of the governor and his donors in the last election in 2014, who happens to be a Republican, as the independent authority for that investigation. Are you kidding me? Really? Are you kidding the people of Michigan? Bill Schuette, come on. So, I mean, the blame is so deep, honestly. It's hard, Jack, to stop talking about how many people can be blamed on this story.